During my road trip, I found myself passing through Ohio and feeling the fatigue creeping in as I drove. Seeking respite, I pulled over in the quiet town of Xenia. Spotting the Xenia Country Inn, I figured it would suffice for a night's rest, despite its somewhat dilapidated appearance, reflective of the town itself. Inside the small front office, an elderly man sat reading the paper, the air thick with heat and the hum of an old table fan. Without much in the way of hospitality, he quoted me a price of $65 for a room, to which I handed over my credit card. My request for a corner room was met with a curt no, indicating that customer service wasn't part of the package. Receiving an antiquated key, I made my way to the room, struggling a bit to unlock the door. Surveying the deserted parking lot with only a couple of cars, I entered to a room permeated with an unpleasant odor reminiscent of cotton and vomit. Despite considering asking for another room, I resigned myself to the likelihood that they were all equally uninviting. The room itself was cramped, with worn blue carpeting, a tired-looking couch, and a bed. Wrestling with the door lock, I eventually managed to secure it, only to struggle with the TV remote, which predictably didn't work. Settling onto the bed, I attempted to sleep, startled by a sudden thump at the window. A man outside asked for help, claiming injury, but I remained cautious, refusing to open the door. After his persistence waned, I checked the lock and closed the curtains for added security. Despite the initial scare, I eventually drifted into a fitful half-sleep. However, my rest was short. Lived as I was awakened by a cold room and the sensation of the blanket being pulled off me. Sitting up, I was confronted by a looming figure at the foot of the bed who silenced me with a gesture and demanded my wallet. Reluctantly, I directed him to my jeans on the floor, fearing for my safety, until he finally departed with my wallet in hand. After ensuring the door was locked, I contacted the authorities, but the masked intruder remained elusive on the surveillance footage. Relieved to have escaped relatively unscathed, I retrieved my refund, canceled my cards, and opted for the safety of my car over another night in a dubious motel. It was a lesson learned to never underestimate the risks of stopping at a questionable roadside inn. In the early months of the previous year, my father and I embarked on a journey infused with altruism, traveling to a small town recently ravaged by flooding. Laden with a bounty of donated clothing and essentials, our mission was to offer aid to families struggling to rebuild their lives from the ruins left by nature's wrath. Our initial lodgings boasted a picturesque view of the ocean, a serene backdrop that belied the tumultuous events that would soon unfold. As night descended, my father and I found ourselves ensconced in our hotel room, ensnared by the eerie allure of cinematic horror. The flickering glow of our laptop screen illuminated our faces as we immersed ourselves in the spine-tingling tale of the Blair Witch Project, a choice that would ultimately deprive us of much-needed rest. The following evening saw us relegated to a motel, situated a mere stone's throw away from a tranquil lake, cloaked in darkness and seclusion. Despite the tranquil facade, an unsettling aura pervaded the premises, emanating from the enigmatic figures of the motel's proprietors. While the manager exuded warmth and hospitality, her husband cast a shadow of unease with his taciturn demeanor and ominous countenance. In a bid to alleviate the mounting tension, my father and I sought refuge in the distraction of pizza and cinema, a temporary reprieve from the disquiet that lingered like a shroud over the motel. Yet, upon our return, the veil of normalcy shattered, giving way to a series of inexplicable events that would forever haunt our memories. A sense of foreboding gripped me as I witnessed a peculiar scene unfold, a bag of children's clothes hidden beneath a spare tire. Faced with the chilling refusal of the motel manager to accept our charitable offering, my father and I exchanged incredulous glances, grappling with the unnerving realization that something sinister lurked beneath the surface of this seemingly innocuous establishment. As night descended, a palpable sense of dread permeated the air, punctuated by the disconcerting symphony of whispered secrets and ominous scratching that echoed through the walls of our room. Frozen in terror, I clung to the fleeting hope that these manifestations were nothing more than figments of an overactive imagination. However, the chilling reality of our predicament became undeniable when the door handle began to rattle ominously, heralding the arrival of an unseen presence lurking just beyond our threshold. With trembling hands and racing hearts, my father and I made the harrowing decision to flee, leaving behind the echoes of our terror in the dead of night. In the aftermath of our escape, I found solace in the embrace of my father, the silent understanding between us serving as a testament to the shared trauma we had endured. As we left the motel behind, forever consigning it to the realm of nightmarish memory, I vowed never to revisit its ominous confines, lest I be consumed by the darkness that lurked within. In the midst of a tumultuous relationship with my ex-girlfriend, we embarked on a weekend getaway to the mountains, hoping to find solace in nature's embrace. Unfortunately, our attempts at reconciliation unraveled in our hotel room on the second night, leaving me unable to share the same space as her. Avoiding the option of securing a separate hotel room for a hefty sum, I opted for the economical choice of a nearby motel, driven by the hope that distance might breed reconciliation. Securing a room for a fraction of the price, I found myself amidst modest accommodations, a queen-size bed adorned with a gaudy floral bedspread, a standard issue TV, and a nondescript sofa. Unwilling to sleep, I wheeled away the hours engrossed in phone games until an unsettling noise permeated the silence, emanating not from my TV but from the adjacent room. The muffled cacophony, akin to a distant conflict or a grim foreboding, stirred unease within me. Matters escalated when the silence was shattered by relentless pounding against the dividing wall, propelling me to confront the unseen aggressor. With trepidation, I ventured next door, only to be met with an eerie emptiness. The TV flickered silently, the bathroom lay abandoned, and no soul occupied the space. A sticky note affixed to the blank blue screen bore a cryptic message: "Check under the bed." Recoiling in horror, I fled the room, my mind racing with fear and uncertainty. Reaching out to my girlfriend for solace, our conversation was interrupted by a resurgence of banging against the walls, igniting a primal panic within me. Summoning the courage to seek assistance, I implored the motel staff to investigate the vacant room next door, convinced of a malevolent presence lurking within. Yet, my pleas fell on deaf ears, as the room stood ominously empty, devoid of any evidence of the bizarre occurrences that had transpired. Despite my disconcerting ordeal, I found solace in the embrace of my girlfriend, grateful for her reassuring presence. The enigma of that night in the motel room stays in my mind, a chilling reminder of the inexplicable forces that may lurk beneath the surface of our seemingly ordinary world.